Hello and welcome to another Dolphin Financial Radio Show. I'm Dan Wendell, today's host, and today's topic is going to be about the cost of long-term care. I'm going to be talking to you about how much it costs, what the trend is, and we might touch upon how to pay for it. But for starters, we're just going to talk about what the current cost for long-term care. We haven't done this topic in a while. When I say we, I'm also talking about my trusty sidekick, Tony Shore. So let me bring him in here. Tony, there he is.
I'm here.
He's smiling. Yes, Tony. Remember, we did a couple of shows on long-term care. It's been a couple of years, but
yeah, it has been a while.
I think we needed to bring it up because we had COVID happen, and I want to see what happened to the cost of long-term care. What do you say?
Yeah. I think I know what's happened to the cost of long-term care because I've had to deal with it with my mother-in-law and other family members. Before he passed away, my wife's father was in long-term care. So it's, it's pricey and it just keeps going like everything else right now, of course. But when you talk about people complain about, gas is, $3 or $4 a gallon, we're talking about a different level of price increase when we're talking about long-term care. That's real money.
It's real money, and I do want to start by letting everyone know that Medicare does not cover long-term care costs. I think that's a common misconception.
It is.
I think it's important for people to realize that when you go on Medicare, and even if you get a supplement or a Medicare Advantage plan to cover that extra, it's not going to cover a nursing home or an adult daycare or things of that nature. So we're going to talk about long-term care costs that aren't covered by Medicare at this point. So I want to start off, and there's a bunch of stats I want to go through, Tony, with you, and then I want to go into the actual costs. But let's start off. This is the ACL.gov. So these are stats about long-term care. And I want to start off by saying that what are the odds of needing it? Because when I meet with people, we're talking about all sorts of things. Certified financial planner, we talk about everything from investing in the market to when to take Social Security to how to use your home equity, that kind of stuff. So it's all encompassing. And one of the things that people don't want to talk about and rarely plan for, it's long-term care.
Mm-hmm.
But someone turning 65 today has almost a 70% chance of needing some type of long-term care services during their years, during the rest, at some point in the rest of their life. So if you're 65, there's a reasonable chance you're going to need long-term care at some point.
Yeah. Okay? It's more than 1 out of every 3 people.
Right.
That's
what do we mean by that? They're going to need long-term. They're going to need some sort of care that's not necessarily going to be covered by Medicare. So they may have to go to a facility. They may have to hire someone to come in to help, which is what most people want to do. No one wants to go to a facility.
No.
I haven't met anyone yet that wants to go to a facility. So how long is when people are talking about planning for this, how do you plan for it? Well, I don't know if I'm going to need it. Oh, I'm not going to need it. If you're married, typically your spouse takes care of you until you get on your feet again or until you pass away. But at some point that might not work, or you might be single. So what are the odds? So for women, they have to plan a little longer because they need care longer. The average length of time that a long-term care situation is needed, for a woman, it's 3.7 years. And men, it's 2.2 years.
Yeah. Women typically outlive men. That's probably why that is. And, women can live 3 to 6 years longer than men on average. So that makes sense. And, it seems like my son and my wife both work in that field. And my son is a CNA. And the majority of the people in the long-term care are women, he said. Usually about true. 3 to 1 at least, 4 to 1 sometimes.
Which makes sense because the older you get, the more reasonable the chances you're going to need long-term care.
Yeah.
And women live longer than men. So, but when you're planning it out, people say, all right, how much, we're going to get into the numbers, but it only shows you monthly cost or yearly cost. It's like, well, how long am I going to need it? Well, we don't know, but
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say 4 years for women, 3 years for men is the average, maybe a little less,
Yeah.
but okay. 1/3 of today's 65-year-olds may never need long-term care support. May never need it. So a third, like you said, 2/3 might, but a third just won't need it. But 20% will need it for longer than 5 years.
Oh,
so how do you plan
those
for
aren't good
this?
odds. Yeah, the odds just keep the numbers. The numbers are not positive. That's
Right.
bad.
Okay, so Dan, I might need it. I'm a man. I'm going to plan for needing it for 3 years. But what if I'm one of those people that need it for 5 or 10 years? As an example, who would need long-term care for 10 years? I mean, if you're going to a nursing home, you don't expect to stay there long. That's the goal. You either want to get out of there or you're probably close to the end of your life. But what if you have dementia and you're perfectly healthy? You could go 10 years, 20 years, theoretically.
Yeah. Yep.
If your body's healthy, but your mind is not, you need support staff 24/7, say, it could last a long time. And the mental deterioration is something that we're seeing more and more of. And that was why we did a show. I'll put that show up here on Medicare costs going up. And one of the reasons was because they wanted to include that Alzheimer drug in the formulary for covered by Medicare. It's a sad reality. So not a very fun topic today, but
yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah. It's a tough topic, and I think, but it's important. And a lot of people put this off, or they think I'm either not going to need it, or I'll deal with it when I get to that point.
Exactly.
And that's where people get into trouble. And first of all, even if you have they think, oh, I have enough money. Yeah, no, you don't. I know we're going to talk about the costs, right? I mean,
that's right.
Pretty,
let's talk about the cost. So I'm going to pull this every year. Genworth puts out their cost of care study. So we're going to reference that, and we're going to reference 2021. So these numbers are for 2021. So because 2022, obviously, we're just starting. And every year, the last time I checked, Tony, the last time we referenced it, I believe we used 2015 numbers. So it's been longer than a couple of years, I think. So here's the deal. And we're going to talk about the costs, but how do you pay for it? We've done the shows on that. I'll put that up here. How do you pay for long-term care? We're going to get into that maybe at the end, but maybe we'll kick the can on another show. We'll do an updated show on how to pay for it. But let's talk about the actual cost. We'll start with homemaker services and home health aid. So like I said, most people do not want to go to a facility. They don't want to leave their house. So what do? You need help. You hire them to come in and help you. Okay. So what are we looking at per month, Tony, here? $4,900 to $5,200 per month, depending on homemaker services versus a home health aid. So homemaker services, that's going to be, hiring someone to come in and clean and cook and do some things. And a home health aid is going to be someone coming in there and helping you do activities of daily living, eating, bathing, dressing, toileting, transferring, you name it. Right. So these things are not cheap. These scenarios are not cheap.
Very expensive.
$5,000 per month. That's $60,000 a year just to bring someone. This is not 24/7, by the way. 24/7, you're looking at probably double that. Yeah. So $10,000 a month. But if you have someone coming in to help out, you can still get around your house. You just need some help doing certain things. This is an option for you. This is the national average. Okay.
Wow. So it's going to be much more expensive in some areas and in some cases, and you get what you pay for with long-term care or even home health aid. So the more, if you want really good care, it's going to cost more than the average.
Yeah, it will. Depends on where you are. And the good thing about this Genworth cost of care, and I'll share the screen in a moment to show you the different states, what it costs. You can put in your zip code, and it'll give you the average cost of care for your zip code, which is great. So, okay, Dan, no, it doesn't cost $5,000 for me to have a home health aide come in. It's probably higher than that. Or no, mine's only going to be $3,000. Well, you can put in your zip and verify it. This is the median, so it might be more or less where you're from, or you might find a cheaper service where you're from. This is just averages, for lack of a better word. Okay, so that's home health. What if you wanted to use an adult daycare? Do you know what these things are, Tony? An adult day healthcare?
Oh, when you said adult daycare, I'm thinking of husband daycare. The sign on the local bar downtown has a big sign that says husband daycare here. Leave your husband here.
Same concept. Same concept. Leave your
But no, I'm
spouse
not
here.
that familiar with adult daycare.
So this is just like, when you had little kids and you wanted to go to work, you drop your child off at daycare and then you come back later and you pick them up. So same thing, except you might have an aging parent that you're taking care of. You don't want to leave them home alone, or a spouse, but you need to go do stuff. You need to run errands.
Yeah.
You need to go just relax, right? I mean, this is something, respite care. This is something that a lot of the people that I deal with, and they have a spouse that's going through some things, they just need that time to breathe, to go food shopping, whatever it is. They have adult daycare, and that can run $1,700 a month on average. That's not, you can't drop someone off that needs medical attention. This is, they're okay. They just need to make sure someone's overseeing. And a lot of times it's, activities, keeping them busy, right? It's like, when you send your kids to summer camp, keep them busy. Same concept, except this isn't not overnight. Assisted living facility is a little different. Assisted living facility, $4,500 per month is the average cost. This is going to be somebody lives at a facility that's designed for their type of situation. There'll be staff nearby to come help in certain scenarios. They're not living with anybody. They still have independent, but they're able to have immediate help if needed, very close by. This isn't a facility where you're in a nursing facility. That's next, but this is close to it. Just you don't get that 24/7 medical treatment, but you're locally situated where it's a lot easier for you. So sure. I think you had a relative in assisted living, or did you have someone in?
Oh yeah, I do. My mother-in-law is in assisted living, and for a while my father-in-law was. So
how would you describe that facility to like an average person? I have no idea
it's
what
like it's big, huge buildings, and there's some pretty nice assisted living facilities now. It's not like the old style nursing homes that you think of, where it's crowded and run down. And assisted living is more like a nice apartments.
Okay. They
she
have
has
a
her
kitchen.
own apart. Yep. Some of them have kitchens. You can get them with or without. Most don't have stoves in them in the assisted living center. But some do. It depends on what level, and they have different wings and different floors for different level of people, and they have different levels of care, and it's all charged a la carte. It's like going to eat at a really, really, really expensive top of the line steakhouse, because your main cost is the steak, and then if you want anything with it, a potato or salad, anything, it's a la carte. You don't get it doesn't come with any sides. At the really nice places, one little salad is going to be a lot of money. Well, it depends on, there's a list of needs that people need, like in long-term care, and it depends what you need. Some people can't put their socks on and off, and there's a charge just for that, or getting dressed and undressed. If you need help going to the bathroom, if you need these things, and there's different levels. Some assisted living is like apartment living. There's a kitchen. So it's different levels, but they're really nice facilities. But the nice ones, again, the one where my mother-in-law is, very expensive.
Right. And okay, people are saying, well, that's $4,500. It's a lot of money for an apartment. Why don't I just rent an apartment? I can get it for $2,000 a month. Well, right now,
because you can't push a button and have somebody immediately there to help you, and not people constantly checking in.
And
Plus, they have a lot of activities. They have
Mhm.
activities, and they'll bring in like a piano player or a magician, and they have movie theater in there and everything,
Right. And so it's kind of like a college dorm room in a way,
Yeah.
where you're independent with people near you, but there's some support there. But this is not a nursing home, which is
Nope.
a lot different. So
Yeah.
let's go to the nursing home. So $4,500 a month is the average for assisted living. And as Tony mentioned, you add some extra little amenities to it, that price goes up, right?
Yeah. It can go
Now,
way up from there. It can go all
right,
the way up to $12,000,
a month, right?
Yeah.
Nursing home facility. Okay, so now we're at the point where, okay, you can't stay on your own. You need 24/7 care.
Help
You
getting in
need
and out of
nurse
bed,
staff.
going to
You
the
need
bathroom.
professional
Yeah.
staff. You
Yep.
need someone to oversee medication administration and meals cooked for you and all this sort of stuff. Now we're getting some big bucks here. $8,000 a month for a semi-private room. So that means you're sharing with someone.
Yep.
Versus a private room, which is $9,000 a month on average. So that's a lot of money. $9,000 a month is a lot. Now, that right away blows people's minds. $9,000 a month. I mean, I could buy a mansion, and
Yeah.
I can have $1 million mortgage for less than $9,000 a month at today's rates.
Yep.
But you got to remember, this is all in now. This is all in. You have staff, professionally trained staff helping you with this. So this is where, if we
And
go
it usually
back to,
includes meals too.
right. It's all in, right? And so we go back to the home health aide for $5,000 a month. They're doing similar stuff, except you're in your own home. Once you go to a nursing facility, you got a bunch of staff and you're getting all these other things, particularly medically necessary, because you're not competent to live in your own home at this point.
Right.
That's the main difference. So a lot of people want to go with the home. They want to retrofit their home to satisfy their need. At some point they say, you know what, I can't do it. I'd rather go in a better situation. I don't want stairs, or I want to. So they go to an assisted living facility to deal with that, and so now they got a better setup, but there's some help nearby. And then eventually you get to the point where it's like, I need help 24/7, help me out here. And then you're going
Right.
8,000-9,000 a month. That's where it gets quite expensive.
Yeah. Really expensive.
So depressing stuff here, Tony.
So depressing. I think what we should do is lighten the mood a bit and take a commercial break. And I want our listeners to hear this commercial. I think it might lighten the mood a bit.
Hello, amigo. I'm Chiquita Banana, and I've come to say bananas have to ripen in a certain way, and when they're flecked with brown and have a golden hue, bananas taste the best and are the best for you. You can put them in a salad, you can put them in a pie, any way you want to eat them. It's impossible to beat them, but bananas like the climate of the very, very tropical equator. So you should never put bananas in the refrigerator.
That answers the
Yeah.
equation, Tony. Do you put bananas in the refrigerator?
Yeah. And welcome back from our commercial break.
Thank you for that, Tony. I appreciate it. That's a good idea.
Little commercial for us. Yeah.
Lighten the mood.
Great. Yeah, and
All
there
right,
were some
now,
helpful educational tips in there. Like you say, don't put the bananas in the refrigerator. And I had no idea that people would put bananas in a salad. I've never had bananas in a salad, but hey, why not?
Yeah, but have you had fruit salad, Tony? Fruit salad?
Well,
Okay.
fruit salad.
See,
Okay,
no, that's not so. All right. So let's go back to reality here. We'll talk about these costs. Now, we've been doing the show for years, and these costs seem to be going higher every time. And in fact, they are. Costs went up fastest in 2022 from 2021, in the home healthcare category. So of all the categories, the home health one went up the highest. Now, what's going on there? What's going up there? And I want to share the screen in a moment. But why do you think costs are going up, Tony?
Why? Well, costs are going up all over the place, but I think why, well, I know why. I know one of the big reasons why, and that is because there's so many people that need care, and they're having to build new facilities, and it's harder and harder to get help for these
Yes.
facilities. There's a staffing shortage is a huge crisis in the healthcare industry.
That's
It's
it.
huge.
That's the number. That's the reason. Demographics, more and more retiring, more and more needing care, less facilities available. So supply demand. That's the bottom line. And the reason why it went up the highest in the home health category last year, everything went up about 3-4%. This went up 10-13% because of COVID. Now all the new protocols and the extra equipment that was needed, that rose the costs. However, that should go back down to normal increasing, which is still high. Costs are always going up. And it all depends on your state. So what I want to do, Tony, I'm going to give you a guess while I try and figure out. Well, first I want to ask you, which state had the highest percent increase over time, costs going up, and which state do you think is the highest cost?
I would say Arizona has the highest costs.
Okay, there's got to be some logic behind that guess.
I don't know that, but I think that I wouldn't be surprised if my home state of Minnesota had biggest increases.
Oh boy, Tony, you are quick. You know, you just know what I'm going to do when I talk about states. And bring up yours, Minnesota. All right, let me share.
Was I right?
Yes, you are.
Was I right on both counts?
Let's look. So can you see my screen here?
Yeah, I can see it.
Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit here. So we look at the national averages. These are the annual costs I talked about. Look at that private room, $108,000. This is directly from the Genworth Cost of Care survey. You can get this yourself. Look at that 3.2% annual growth on average. If we look, Arizona, no, they're not the highest. Look who's the highest, Tony. Private room in Alaska.
Well, that's sure. Arizona was third, though. I was close.
No, this isn't alphabetical order.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, California's up there, but Alaska far and away. Obviously.
Oh yeah, actually, Arizona isn't that close. Well, that's interesting.
Right there.
Yeah, I was a wild guess on Arizona because a lot of people retire there. I thought they could charge more. I don't know.
But you said it with such confidence, Tony, that I believed you.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at, let's look at nursing home, 5-year annual growth, 3.25 on average. Most of the states are around there, 2 to 5, -2 growth in the District of Columbia, 3, 4, 5, boom, 10%.
10%.
Minnesota. 5-year growth rate. 10%. Look at that. 2, everywhere else 2, 3. The closest is 7% over in Utah and West Virginia, 7%. But look at that. 10%, far and away the highest percentage growth. Also in the home healthcare, Minnesota. So what is going up? What's going on in the land of many lakes?
Well,
what is going on there?
And I'm sure it's like this all over, so maybe this isn't the exact reason, but I do know the huge crisis here is it's staffing. Because CNAs, it's a tough job. It's low paying. The people who help them go to the bathroom, clean them, feed the seniors or the people in these facilities. And I know as a fact because my wife is she's the director of recruiting for a chain of assisted living centers and memory care centers. And if you were a CNA, you can work anywhere in the country that you want because there are job openings everywhere. There's job openings in Hawaii. There's job openings in Florida. There's job openings in Arizona. So if you had your choice between Arizona and Minnesota, or Minnesota, as I like to call it, and you're a CNA, number one, the wages here are still a little low in that field, lower than other states, and that's a problem. And if you can live wherever you want, if you work in the healthcare industry right now, you can get a job wherever you want, pretty much. So people don't choose Minnesota, maybe, but the staffing is the issue here, and that's what's driving up the prices, I think.
And I learned two things from this. One, that your wife's going to have a job for ways to go because they need to recruit more in Minnesota. And
but it's a horrible job right now, stressful, because she can't find people to do the job.
Well, the people that are doing the job, it's stressful because but it's also a very high demand. So you're going to see wages go up for that, right? That's how things work. Yeah. So you're looking at what should I be in college? Come some sort of nurse to allow you
or doctor, PAs, right? PAs and nurse practitioners, and any kind of nurse is like you can write your own ticket. Right? I mean, if you want money, you gotta. If you want money, you gotta be a nurse practitioner or a PA or the lower level nurses. Again, the pay is just not great. So, but yeah, there's a lot of problems though. There could be a lot of reasons Minnesota is higher. There might be, the facilities have a state tax that they're making up.
They have insulation. They have to have insulation in the buildings. It's so darn cold.
The heating alone.
During the COVID crisis, a lot of people were at home more in Florida, and so we watched a little bit more TV. Or at least I did. So I saw some commercials which I hadn't really watched, and one of the commercials that was constantly repeated was the governor of South Dakota. Nome, I think her name is. She was pitching, "Come to South Dakota. It's the greatest country, part of the country." Right. And so I thought, oh, wow, they were spending their COVID dollars to get people to move there. I was waiting. Now I'm going to be looking for, come to Minnesota for home healthcare jobs. We have, a land of opportunity. You can go fishing and help the, nursing homes.
They hire from overseas. They've had to go overseas.
It sounds like it's an issue. And the data doesn't lie. Minnesota's struggling, but across the country, there's a shortage and more people needing it. So we're in a situation here. So the conclusion is costs for long-term care, they're not covered by Medicare. This is stuff that's outside coming from your pocket. So more and more people are going to be experiencing these expenses. So you just need to have a plan. You need to understand what you're up against. Hopefully these numbers kind of opened your eyes if you haven't really planned for it yet. Hey, am I going to need $400,000? I don't have it. Now you're not going to have to come up with $400,000, right? It's not, that's a scare tactic to get people to start thinking about this stuff. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it is a real expense. It can get very expensive. If you have aging parents, you're going to need to start thinking about that. So what we'll do, and we'll do it in the future show. We've done shows on paying for this. I think I'll put that one up there.
There are ways to pay for it.
The ways to pay for long-term care. But I think what I want to do is an updated version of that, Tony. We'll do a podcast on how to go about paying for this, and we'll add some new interesting ways. But it's a tough topic. And, in real life, it's not something you want to talk about, but you should. And, one recommendation Tony had was to have a Chiquita banana commercial in there just to lighten the mood.
That was that was my input to try to help people.
But if you want more, we're going to get Tony in here. Maybe we'll get his wife to come on. Yes, the better looking half.
She could talk about it
on there and talk to us about what's going on here, because it's a big topic, Tony. I think if I did a show, I'll put this show up there, the top 3 punches. I said, Mike Tyson said, everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face.
Yep.
One of the top 3 punches against a retirement plan is long-term care. So something to consider. I think, hopefully people gained a little bit from it, but check out the Genworth cost of care. Just Google that. You'll get right to the link. They come out every year. And sorry to say, the numbers keep going up.
Yes, they do. Well, good show today. A lot of great information, trying to really educate people on this topic. Dan, as always, great. Once again, let people know how they can get a hold of you before we go.
Easiest way, just go to the dolphinfinancialgroup.com. That's dolphinfinancialgroup.com, or you can call us. If you have an idea for the show, you want to ask a question about the show, there's a separate extension that you can dial. I think it's number 5, and you can leave a message for Tony and I to talk about a topic on the show. Or if you have a question about this one, the number is 888-508-5935. Thanks for a good show, Tony. We'll see you next time.
All matters discussed in today's show are for informational purposes only.
This show is not investment advice.
Dan Whittle nor Dolphin Financial Group are affiliated or endorsed by any government agency.
Investment advisory services are offered through Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc., a registered investment advisor in the state of Florida.
Insurance products and services are offered through Dolphin Insurance, Inc.
Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc. and Dolphin Insurance, Inc. are affiliated companies doing businesses as Dolphin Financial Group.
You should talk to someone at Dolphin Financial Group before implementing any of these strategies or ideas.